Hi, it's Jerry here again. I'm doing a series of videos on my concussion and brain fog and the impact of that. And I'm doing that to hopefully help all of you out there who have the same issue. And these videos are short because that's all my brain can handle, and I'm sure that's all yours can too. For a long time, I didn't have the words to describe just what this was that was going on in my head. This buzzing, this inability to think, to process, just, it was overwhelming, especially for someone who was, an overthinker, I guess you could say. It really was, it was very hard. I'm not here to give medical advice or any quick fixes because I haven't found any. I'm into 3 years with my concussion and whiplash and vision issues and the brain fog that goes along with that. There's so many changes and so much confusion. And I really just hope that this video series can really help those of you out there also. So I want to talk about when you get to the ER. There you are in the ER, and you're not feeling very well at all. Maybe you don't know that you have a concussion. You don't know what's going on in your brain. If you're lucky, you get in quickly, and then the doctor will examine you. And they might do some imaging. They might do a CAT scan to rule out whether you've had a stroke or brain bleed of some kind. And then the doctor comes and tells you that you have a concussion, maybe other factors with it. But because you're not critical, the ER doctor doesn't really know what to do with you because they're trained in critical. And that's where their mindset is at. And I'm sure this is not just my experience. This is, in general, the experience that other people that I know who have had concussion and gone to the ER, that's, how it's gone with them. So they tell you to go home and rest. And if symptoms get worse, that you should come back. They tell you no screens for at least 5 to 7 days. And that means no screens, no phone, no tablet, no TV, no computers. And there's a good reason for that. And they should tell you to see a physiotherapist and your family doctor. Follow up with your family doctor if you have one. In Canada, that's iffy. At the time of my accident, I did not have a family doctor for about 15 years. But I have since gotten on a list and got a family doctor. So then there you are, you're at home and you're resting. The lights bother you, noise bothers you, and you probably have an overwhelming headache, maybe a migraine. They tell you to take Tylenol. And that's it. And our friends and our family don't understand. They don't understand that maybe we're nauseous all the time. Maybe in the first few days, if you're nauseous, you just might throw up. But eventually that nauseousness is a signal that comes from the brain and not from the stomach, and so you're not as apt to throw up. Anyone who has ever experienced this, they understand, but for the rest of our family members, this is a hidden injury. We look just fine, mostly. So then you go to the physiotherapist and you follow up with your doctor. And life goes on. Maybe the physiotherapist can lessen those headaches. So then, what happens if you are in the 10% of those who sustain a concussion where your injuries go on more than 90 days? That's where the fun begins, I guess, if you want to call it that. It's way better to laugh than to cry, right? That's the only way that I've gotten through this, anyways. Yeah, if your concussion goes beyond 12 weeks, you're in it for the long run. A neurologist told me that. And I've seen a few neurologists now. And it's all a waiting game. That's what I've been told. This has to heal itself, right? The thing that I found, and in talking to others, excuse me, who have concussion, long-term concussions, is that we all believe that it's going to be better next week, next month. We do. I didn't know that a concussion could last longer than 2 weeks or a month. How would I have known that? I didn't, up until this point, I didn't know anyone who had a concussion for longer than a couple of weeks. Anyways, yeah, you're in it for the long run. So get your physio in there and whatever you can get, and and go on. At some point, I had to come to the conclusion that maybe my physiotherapist and chiropractor were correct in saying, this is not going to be over this year. And they both gave me the opinion that 3 years. But here I am at 3 years, and it's not over. And I pretty much did everything that I was told to do or not to do. And here I am. I'm in a plateau now. And that's a hard place to be. And, if you're just starting your journey, I want this to give you hope. I want this to give you hope that you can survive this. But at the same time, I think we need to try to have a reality check that if we've gone beyond 12 weeks, we don't know if it's going to, be over in a year or 2 years. Or it was very discouraging for me to meet people who were, 8, 9, 10 years into their concussion and brain fog. The headaches are bad, but the brain fog really disturbs me. It really, because you can't think. And I'm not supposed to drive. They didn't take away my license, but I do know, 10 minutes in the car and the brain fog is overwhelming. And that's not putting us in a good place to be driving, right? Anyways, another tough part is nobody tells us about, the setbacks. Because you take 2 steps forward and you fall back 1. You take another step forward and you fall back 2. And then you take 3 steps forward and fall back 2. And actually myself, at the 14-month mark, I had an episode that landed me in the hospital. They called it a migraine episode, but it took me back to day 1. And that was very discouraging because here I was starting over. And that really was really, really hard. And I just want to encourage you. The other thing is that you need a counselor. You need a counselor to keep your head in the right place. Because if you give up, you're not going to get better. And I don't want anyone out there to give up. And I've been on that doorstep, but you just can't give up. And I really, really want to, be a support for all of us out there who are going through this have gone through this. So it seems that this is the end of my brain power for today. But please, if you enjoyed this, like and subscribe so you'll know when the next video comes out. And, put some comments in there. Tell us about your journey in a short form, right? But, if you are a year into it, if you are 6 months into a concussion, tell us your story in as short a form as you can, because together we can heal together, and that's the whole point of my video. So thank you for watching.